Benjamin Johnson with Accuracy in Media, reporting here from the Republican Jewish Coalition, where the majority of Republican contenders had some very interesting words to say about our president and his stance on security and the defense of Israel.
Mr. President, for every thug and hooligan, for every radical Islamist, he has had nothing but appeasement.
We have an administration in Washington today whose foreign policy is an incoherent mess.
President Obama's troop withdrawals in Iraq and Afghanistan were quite apparently based upon electoral expediency, not military requirement.
This is what they hope for, because, of course, it will deliver them to their 72 virgins.
The fact that the Justice Department has said all of its training programs on terrorism have to take out the word Islam is an outrageous denial of truth.
Israel's security is critical to America's security. We must not forget it was Israel that took out the nuclear capabilities of Iraq in 1981, of Syria in 2007.
I and the United States of America will once again have Israel's back.
He visited Egypt, Syria, no, not Syria, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Turkey. He even offered to meet with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Yet in 3 years in office, he hasn't found the time or interest to visit Israel.
Interestingly enough, just a year later, when a group of radicals, including the Muslim Brotherhood and radical Salafi Islamists, took to the streets in Egypt against our ally, against our friend who hasn't attacked us, who hasn't declared war against us, who is not a radical theocrat that wants to control the world. Oh, in that case, we quickly jumped on board with the radical Salafis and Muslim Brotherhood in the streets.
This one-sided, continuing pressure that says it's always Israel's fault, no matter how bad the other side is, has to stop.
Here's what Israel does not need. Israel does not need our president demanding gratitude for being the best friend that Israel has ever had, while his Secretary of Defense rails that Israel get back to the damn table, quote, with the Palestinians.
Covert activity like may have occurred at the missile site just recently in Iran, right? I would like to think the United States was involved in that. I would like to think that we had something to do with that missile site. But given the president's record with Osama bin Laden and not being able to keep a secret of anything good that he did for even more than 24 hours, I suspect we'd already know if we had something to do with that explosion.
We have no foreign policy if we are broken at home.
The fact that Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton, would talk about discrimination against women in Israel and then meet with Saudis?
This torrent of hostility towards Israel, it doesn't seem to be coordinated. It doesn't. It seems, from my perspective, to be a natural expression of this administration's attitude towards Israel.
I want every country in the region that harbors aggressive designs against Israel to understand that their ambition is futile and that pursuing it will cost them very dearly.
Any foreign scientist working in Iran on this nuclear program will be termed an enemy combatant and will be subject to, like any other enemy combatant, like Osama bin Laden, to be taken out by the United States government as a threat to this country.
So in a Gingrich administration, the opening day, there will be an executive order about 2 hours after the inaugural address. We will send the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem as of that day.
And our longing has always been next year, Jerusalem.
I would not meet with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
And to effective intelligence gathering and not be forced to rely on pseudo-allies such as the Pakistanis who clearly had to be conspiring to hide bin Laden for 8 years since he was hiding in the national military city.
I am adamant that the discussion of any foreign aid should start at zero.
He believes that America's role as the leader of the world is a thing of the past, that this is going to be a post-American century, perhaps an Asian century. American strength, he imagines, will eventually be entirely or partially eclipsed. And so he seeks to appease those he believes will balance us.
a brick in one hand and a sword in the other.
He seems to be more generous to our enemies than he is to our friends. And that is the natural tendency of someone who is unsure of their own strength.
As many of you know, I'm a student of history. Unlike the president, I've studied American history.
I will never go into another country anywhere and apologize for America. Never.
The course of appeasement has long been the path chosen by the weak and the timid.
After all, if you had to defend Obamacare, wouldn't you want to use a teleprompter?
And it's not going to change unless we put an outsider in. And I'm telling you, they don't want me up here. This city is not ready for me.
What we all fear the most is a weak America. American strength is the best ally peace has ever known. And I will keep America strong.